and explore volving. Volving, we're here to evolve, but if you look at the root of evolve, volve is to vibrate. It's to roll. That's the Latin root of that word, the meaning of that word. And we're here to evolve. The entire purpose of our journey is to evolve, but we'll get there in a moment. Before we dive into today's topic, is there anybody here for the first time? We're all seated. Oh, we got a couple. Yeah, well, welcome. You get an extra special gold star for finding us in our location. And as you are here for our very first time, I just will give you our proper introduction. This is Soul Center OC. We are part of the Agape Association of Communities, an affiliate of Agape International Spiritual Center. And as they do up at Agape, we do here. We're just going to take a moment. I want you to practice the art of receiving. We are going to extend our hearts through our hands. Don't worry, it's all good. And just bestow a blessing upon you. We'd like to just say, welcome to Soul Center.
Welcome to Soul Center.
We know who you truly are.
We know who you truly are.
You are divine emanations of brilliance and beauty.
You are divine emanations of brilliance and beauty.
Intelligence and joy.
Intelligence and joy.
That have come here to get your groove on in the divine light of goodness, grace, beauty, love, and God. We welcome you here to Soul Center. Thank you for being here. We like to create a welcoming environment, and that's actually what our spiritual practice is all about. A spiritual practice should be a very welcoming environment to our own selves. And as I was talking earlier, we're here to evolve, we're here to vibrate. I was listening to Deepak Chopra not too long ago, and he said, somebody was like saying, what's like part of the reason that we're here? And he's like, because we're addicted to having experiences. He was addressing actually a topic about addiction and why people get addicted to particular things, whether it's substances or things like that. And there's something within us, there's a mechanism, and we can become addicted to anything, whether that's addicted to shopping or drugs or getting addicted to working too much, any of those things. There's some sort of mechanism that allows us to become slightly unconscious, and we start to move from a devolving vibration. And our job is to allow ourselves to connect with part of the topic for today. The topic for today is passion, perseverance, and resolve. And as we are coming up on New Year's Eve, tomorrow night, it's the eve before New Year's Eve, a lot of people in the olden days would say that they are going to set their New Year's resolutions. And when you look at the root or the definition of a resolution, it's something that it's like an intention, but it's an intention that has a lot of impact in it. It means you really have some determination in there. And when you have resolve means it's like you're not going to take no for an answer. And so most people, when they set their resolutions, don't have the resolve, let alone the passion, the perseverance. And the passion and the perseverance are those aspects of life. Passion is something that we all have, and as many of you know a little bit of my story, growing up when I was in, matriculating through all of the levels through high school, I knew a lot of people that were fairly passionate about things, but at that particular time I was the president of the passion list. Because I didn't really have any passion. I was still kind of licking my wounds from some of the social events that were going on in my life, and the bullying and things like that. But I didn't have a connection, and this was just it's neither good nor bad in a particular way. But back then, I didn't have a connection, to spirit. I was on my own. I was kind of rogue. I didn't pray or I didn't meditate that I was aware of. Deliberate meditation, one of our spiritual practices, is when we tune in deliberately to the vibration of the divine. And back then, if you had asked me about God, I would have said, like, yeah, God exists, but, whatever, I got things to do. And I didn't really care much. I was lucky enough, in some regards, to be brought up as a mutt. I think I've shared this with you before, of a Jewish father and a Christian mother, both of which did absolutely nothing. So the blessing was I wasn't forced to go to temple. I wasn't forced to go to church. I was able to just kind of do my own thing. But the downside of that was I also wasn't really introduced to spirit. It was all left up to me to figure that out. And I think for the most part, that's probably most of our journey. We're left to figure it out on our own. And the one thing that our community that kind of differentiates us a little bit from other traditional religious communities, which are evolving. There's an evolution taking place globally, so that nobody's going to be left out, but some people, if you look at the group consciousness, whether it's of a city or a nation or a religious organization, there's a group consciousness, kind of like when you see those flock of birds and there's like 150 of them and they all kind of do the same thing. There's group consciousness that grabs us all from time to time, and we buy into certain things even though we think that we're individual and we have our own choices and our own decisions, but oftentimes we are ruled by the very thing that we don't want. And so back then, I didn't really have any immersion into that. And again, like I said, I was president of Passionless People International, meaning I didn't have any real I didn't know what it was. And to be able to connect into your passion, which when we talk about passion, we're talking about the impulse of the soul of that through God, by God, of God, that is you, born in the image and likeness of God, seeking to reveal itself and express itself. You are a portal from the infinite eternal to come through and matriculate into time and space and express grace, beauty, light, love, and joy and peace. That is a mandate. That is part of who you are. That is more of who you are than anything else. And the thing that kind of slightly differentiates us from those religions that I was talking about earlier, and again, not all of them, but some, I don't like to generalize too much, but we like to put the power into your hands. All of our teachings for it's, going on about a couple hundred years at least, from the New Thought movement, that's the umbrella that we find ourselves under. The New Thought movement is about claiming and having a distinctive and a powerful experience of the divine through you. Not an intermediary, not a priest or a rabbi or a minister, through you. We kind of go a little bit more along the lines, a little bit mirroring the guru or the shamanistic way approach, where we have ministers and we have practitioners that help give you the leg up to empower you to find your bliss and to find your grace and to find your beauty and to find your passion. Your passion, and again, when I was passionless, I just didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I was kind of a ship without a rudder just sailing along, and I didn't realize, and I used to be exceedingly jealous of people who were passionate. I was like, oh my God, I had a friend who from elementary school, this big, he knew he was going to be a movie director. And he used to come with his little 12 millimeter camera and he would film and stuff at school and he would do all this stuff. And he knew, and he was always directing people, and some people just thought, oh, you're just plain out bossy. But he was already stepping in. He already knew what his passion was. I want to name drop, but that guy's J.J. Abrams. He grew up from the time, I knew him when he was that big. And it's amazing that in every moment of every day, ever since then, now he's huge. Because he knew his passion, and he had perseverance. Perseverance means that you are going to move through anything that comes in your way. So it doesn't matter what it is. So in our community, we know there are spiritual laws and there are spiritual principles. There are principles and laws that are immutable by the human experience. You might not have an experience based on these laws because if you don't acknowledge the laws, just like if you don't acknowledge the law of gravity, you might come into some accidents as a result of that. That doesn't mean they're not there. So we know that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniamorous, all loving, all powerful, all good, in every space, in every place. But how much of that is out picturing in your life on a daily basis? Most people on a good day, if they're evolving at a pretty low level, they're evolving at a level of mediocrity, maybe approaching, maybe on a good day, 10% of the capacity to experience bliss, grace, beauty. And when we move into prayer being the portal where we evoke and we create a portal between time and space and the eternal, and we download through prayer when properly done. So there is a way to pray a wrong, and there's a way to pray a right. And by a right and a wrong, meaning that if you had an intention to go to Phoenix right now, and all you have to do is get on the 10 and head east. But if you didn't know where you were going and you didn't know what to do and people were trying to give you advice of what to do and you weren't listening, you might get on the 405 and head north, looking to land in Phoenix. But if you're doing it wrong, if you're directionally challenged, you're not going to end up where you want to be. And so that's basically what praying a wrong is. Praying a wrong means that you're going to be praying, but there's something within you that isn't observing or acknowledging the principles and the laws that are going to take you where you want to go. And so we want to tap into the principles that allow us to pray aright. That means we're going to have perseverance. Because, for many years, people have been doing their affirmations, and we are known in our community for affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer, the reason we use affirmative prayer is because it brings you into alignment to pray aright. So you first tap into your passion, then you allow yourself to use your spiritual tools, and the tools that we put in our toolbox, those are tools that we only use until we don't need them anymore. The idea is to not ever need a tool anymore. And the idea too with prayer is that we move into ceaseless prayer and a ceaseless meditative state. And when we move into that, that's when we're starting to reach the levels of divine awareness known as nirvana or bliss. And when we are allowed, that's when we're living from a place, as Yeshua, then Joseph, Jesus the Christ, would have said, is being in the world but not of the world. And that is an evolutionary process in the human experience. And so we want to evolve in that direction. We want to evolve in that direction. We want to vibrate in that direction. But most of us, we get caught with the little detours. We're driving down the 10 and we see the sign that says, over here we got some goodies for you. And then we veer off, and we get taken down a side road, and the next thing you know, we're devolving, or we're just evolving at a mediocre rate. And we want to be able to open up. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to become aware of what are your passions? What are the passions? And so when we move, how do you find out what your passion is? Now, some people kind of know what their passions are, and even if you know what your passion is, even if you know your passion is to sing like an angel of divine holy light like Rena does, there's still more to it. There's a whole bunch more that we can embrace around that, because we are living in a collective world, meaning that every single one of us is connected to every single other person on the planet. And in the realm of the divine, we all know that there is no male, there is no female, there is no race, there is no religion. There's just infinite grace and beauty. But while we're here, we get to wear these beautiful costumes that tell us, we're an age, or we're a gender, or we're a race, or we have some sort of background in religion or things like that. But the true nature of who you are, the call of your soul, as we do when we do the meditative process known as visioning, you tap into the call of your soul and you allow yourself to be led by it. And oftentimes it is going to contradict what your ego or your personality has in mind for you. And your ego and your personality is going to say, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pray. I don't want to meditate. And it might actually even say it in those words. It just might show up as resistance. And resistance, so this is the difference between or when you look at perseverance. Perseverance is being, first of all, choosing. You want to choose to understand and know the language of truth. Your truth, the highest truth, the capital T truth, not the lowercase t truth, not the my truth that says, this is why I'm justified in being angry at you. This is my truth. That's not the truth I'm talking about. The truth I'm talking about is the truth that allows you to move into transcendence, to transcend anything. We know in our community that we can transcend anything. We can transcend if it's illness. Now, some things, as we were talking about last week, some things take a little bit more time. Remember, we were talking last week a little bit about how it's kind of like an app on your phone. Sometimes you go to update them, and some of them take a longer time to update because there's more things that need to take place in order for it to end up in your phone and operate and take you to a higher level. Generally, the idea is that app is going to be more functional and have less bugs in it. And then some are really quick. And so we're wanting, everybody, in this day and age, we all want immediate gratification. And so I have clients, to this day that, we go ahead and we do our session and we do everything that is necessary and required to get the energy moving in a particular direction. And then the very next day they're saying, well, it hasn't worked. And because they didn't, if they were looking for prosperity, then they're like, well, I haven't seen any results. Where's that new client? Where's that new avalanche of money coming in? Or if it's with illness, it's like, okay, well, the tumor's not gone, or my cold isn't gone, or something like that. It's like, it's an evolutionary process, and every time you activate it, you're going to call forward everything necessary to bring you and evolve you in the direction. And that's where perseverance comes in. And you don't take no for an answer. You want to make sure that when you connect with your passion, and sometimes the passion is whatever is going on in your life. And I know I've been through physical maladies. I've been through lots of physical maladies, a lot of emotional maladies, and things of that nature. And I've grown through them, and I've triumphed. And I've worked with a lot of people that have triumphed. I've worked with, I've shared with you before. I've had some clients. Don't ask me why, but I all of a sudden became like the pregnancy savant, and not from the natural way, but from the way of working with couples. And all of a sudden, these people that were told they couldn't, these women who were told they couldn't have children, and it was like, no, they could feel it in their bones, motherhood. And it's like, okay, well, there's certain things that are going to need to clear out in order for that to happen. And then they cleared. One of them, it took a matter of 3 months. One of them, it took 1.5 years. But we didn't give up. We didn't stop. We persevered, which means that you're going to probably come up against your resistance. And your resistance, you want to be your friend. Your resistance. In resistance, there is a golden nugget of magnificence if you allow yourself to, the old cliche in our spiritual community, what you resist persists. And so we want to embrace what is it in the resistance that's going to allow me to flourish. So first, we want to evoke and tap into what are my passions. And when I finally discovered what some of my passions were, it was like I was born again. I felt a new breath of life. And it's very convenient in our human experience to be caught in a rote pattern where it's like, okay, it's Monday through Friday, you go to your 9 to 5 and you do your thing. And we get consumed in time, space, consciousness, or group conscious energies. And if you want something to change, in order to transcend, we must evoke the power that allows transcendence. The divine is the only thing that is going to clear your trauma body. Nothing else is going to clear your trauma body. If you want to transcend anything, whether it is monetary, whether it is physical, whether it is relationship, whatever it is, if you want a full transcendence where you are clean, absolutely clean. The only way to do that is through the divine, through God as you. It is more of who you are, who we are, than anything else. And so we want to tap into that and cultivate it on a regular basis. And that is why. That is why we tap into our meditation practice, not for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, once a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week. We want it to grow. We want that to evolve where it becomes ceaseless meditation, where you're walking around. And ceaseless meditation is a divine awareness where you're so keenly and lucidly aware, you get what's going on everywhere. You don't have to go and, in baby steps in the beginning, this is the beginning step of meditation. In the beginning step of meditation, I need to go into a place, and I need to sit down, and I need to be undistracted, and then, oh my God, you just made a noise. You just ruined my meditation. And then you start blaming and shaming because so-and-so came in and made a noise, and oh my God, everything was going to be perfect until you came in and disrupted me. That's the first step of meditation. Then all of a sudden you flex the muscle, and then so-and-so could come in and they could be playing drums and shaking a tambourine, and you're going to be in the Zen zone space. But still, that's an evolutionary, that's evolving, that is part of the meditative practice where you're going to transcend disturbances. But you're not even there yet. Transcending disturbances is only a step along the way. As you move up even further, we move into a place where you can be in ceaseless meditation, which allows you to transcend reactionary living, which means when so-and-so does something and then all of a sudden I get my panties in a wad and I'm all bent out of shape because of something, you'll be able to transcend that. And that's what we want. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if nobody ever triggered you ever?
Yes.
Ever.
Yes.
That is where peace on earth resides. We all have it within us, but you're going to find this hard to believe. There's only one reason that we don't live there, because we won't give up our issues. We have issues, most of which we don't know exist in our beingness. And so right now, when I was matriculating through my practitioner studies, it became very clear to me early on, and this all came through meditation. It didn't come through somebody teaching me or telling me. Some of the best way that you are going to grow and learn in your spiritual community is when we offer you classes to cultivate a real experience through you of a divine connection. That's what we want to cultivate. It's really nice to hear about people who are in the world but not of the world. It's really nice to hear about people who have transcended things. But to live it, that's what you want. That's what we're after. And so we want to tap into that. And so one of the things that had happened when I was matriculating through was that they were asking us, we had to do all these internships. I know I've shared this with you before, where we had to go into programs, whether it was going into a convalescent hospital or a prison, and we had to work with homeless people, and knowing what the consciousness that we are bringing when we are working with these people is not they are broken or damaged or wrong or bad. We go into those places to know that it is God seeing God, that they are not their behaviors, that they are not their situations and their circumstances, as a way to cultivate and bring out the best in them. Well, some of those things didn't sound very appealing to me. I didn't want to go into a prison. I didn't want to go into a convalescent hospital. It was all right going to work with the homeless. So I thought, okay, whatever's the worst one, that's what I'm going to do. So my charge to you would be, you might want to take an inventory. For example, I used to be very much about, I liked small, intimate groups. I had a small group of friends. And I just felt like comfortable. And I didn't realize until I started being with it, the reason I was doing that, because it was unsafe to me to have a larger group of friends. Because when I did have a larger group of friends once upon a time, some people got nasty and mean, and so I felt like I could control it if I kept it small and tight. And I needed to have really deep, meaningful relationships, but only with a few people. And so that might seem like okay on the surface. But deep underneath, as I started to investigate, I was like, oh, because fear was allowing me to live a constricted life.
Right.
But it was normal. I was like, oh, well, that sounds fine. You don't need to have a whole bunch of friends. You can just be fine with just a small little tight group. And it's like, so some of those things, I only bring that up because sometimes these things are small and they seem like, oh, that's just normal. That's okay. I don't need to do anything. You've heard me refer to them before as the dust bunnies. They're the things that don't grab you. You're not going to escape anything, so the charge is you might as well just make a list of what are you afraid of. And when you want to do that, you want to get yourself in a great sweet space. You want to get all prayed and meditated up, and then what am I afraid of? And then we want to know what is the gift within that.
Yes.
And there's a gift that will liberate us. And when you are liberated from something you are afraid of, the ripple exponential effect of magnificence is mind-blowing because it will open you up to so many magnificent things. So I just wanted to kind of conclude with, as we're here on the eve before New Year's Eve, and some of you, we know in our community that New Year's Eve is every day, because every day is the beginning of a new year. But I am a spiritual opportunist. I like to exploit the divine.
Yes.
And it's like, so there's a lot of energy starting tomorrow night of everybody setting their resolutions and their intentions for the new year. Passion, perseverance, and above all, resolve. I'm not taking no for an answer. And do you know why most people, when they set their resolutions at the beginning of the year, don't fulfill them? Because they don't have a continual energy flow that carries them through to its fruition. They don't have the perseverance or the resolve. And that's just the beginning stage, because all of that is actually going to fade out of your beingness, because eventually as you move into ceaseless divine awareness, then all of a sudden you'll be in the as-me consciousness where things just happen. It's just this elegant dance. You hear the voice of the divine, the voice of your soul that knows you better than you know yourself, that is blissed out of its gourd, but just start having it as an experience. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to take a moment and we're going to tap in prayer. I'm going to invite you to just turn within, whether you close your eyes or keep them open. We're going to take a moment and turn within. We're going to turn within and we allow ourselves to relax, and we open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls to the infinite grace, the infinite beauty, the infinite light, the joy, the love of God. Those words just begin. They just begin to explain or express that divine presence. And remembering that we, each and every one of us, is a mightier master than you could ever imagine. Bigger, greater, grander. And it is that part of our beingness, the part of us born in the image and likeness of God, that we tap into now. And we ask the question, what am I passionate about? What is my passion? What are my passions? And we allow them to come to the forefront of our awareness. And we know that it is God's good pleasure to fulfill our passion in benevolent and beautiful ways. And as we open into a benevolent state of vulnerability, as we allow ourselves to evoke, invite, and allow that divine light to open us to the too good to be true, for that which your heart is yearning for. That too good to be true is the truth of your soul. And so we allow ourselves to evolve. We know that we have to get involved to evolve. And so we allow ourselves to evolve and vibrate at that holy light, dynamic frequency of infinite potential, infinite good. We know that right where we are, everything, the kingdom of heaven, is right where we are. And so I'm grateful that we have all said yes to connecting with our passion, allowing ourselves to benevolently persevere, and allow that there is such an elegant divine strength of resolve that we take no answer except for the mighty holy yes. The yes of good, the yes of prosperity, the yes of wellness, the yes of harmony, the yes of joy, the yes of elegance, the yes of beauty. For these are the very, very qualities, the very nature of God, the very nature of who we are. We have all said yes today to being in the world but not of it, to being in a beautiful world, a world that works for everything and everyone. Win-win. Win-win in every way, shape, and form. And as we open up to our soul energy, as we open up to that divine holy light, our job is to be still and know that I am, and to continue to persevere by checking in and tapping in until we are ceaselessly in awe of the beauty, grace, love, joy in, through, and around us. I am grateful to know that it is in prayer, the portal to the infinite magnificence, that we download of beauty beyond our wildest dreams. We open to this. We allow it to be by bringing ourselves into divine right receivership, meaning we accept our prayer answered benevolently and beautifully. We open to that and we allow ourselves to be so humbly and benevolently vulnerable, fortified and magnified with divine strength. We gratefully allow it all to be, simply and gratefully by saying, and so it is.